In this video, I will use simple language that anyone can understand, whether they are familiar with Islamic studies or not. The goal of this video is to clear up confusion about the Islamic schools of thought
المذاهب
and stop people from using them as a pretext to criticize Islam or cast doubt on it. I want you to know that our four schools of thought all fall under one umbrella, Islam. Their differences are positive and acceptable, and they do not contradict the core of our religion. No school of thought has added a new religious obligation or invented a new act of worship. None of them have declared something lawful that is forbidden. Their disagreements are in secondary matters, and they are not reasons for any group to be fanatical about their opinion. Each imam of the four schools of thought either studied under the previous imam or learned from his knowledge through his books. They are interconnected links in a chain, and we cannot do without any of them. Some critics, including Muslims, claim they don't need the four imams since these scholars did not exist at the beginning of Islam, and the companions of the Prophet understood the religion without them. But this is because the companions had direct access to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and could ask him about anything that confused them, and he would answer them. Isn't that a valid reason for the absence of formal schools of thought at that time? Even the companions, when the Prophet was not present and a new issue arose, would sometimes give differing rulings. One would say one thing, and another would say the opposite. When they consulted the Prophet, he would not reject their differing opinions. Instead, he would acknowledge that both were trying their best. This shows that differences existed even in front of the Prophet, and he didn't object to them as long as they didn't touch the fundamentals of the faith. Even after the Prophet's death, differences continued. There are many accounts of disagreements between
عائشة أبو هريرة وعبد الله بن مسعود.
May Allah be pleased with them all. Yet these differences didn't lead to conflict between them or their followers. This is very different from the splits among Christians, which history has shown led to enmity and division. Now let's move on to the most common question. How did these schools of thought originate, and why did they appear? Let's go back to the beginning and keep it brief. After the death of the Prophet, his companions and wives could still issue rulings based on the knowledge they inherited from him. Then came the generation of
the التابعين
successors, who inherited this knowledge. As Islam spread east and west, it was no longer limited to the Arabian Peninsula. New cultures and customs emerged among the newly converted populations, and finding rulings that addressed their unique ways of life became necessary. Deriving these rulings required scholars who had dedicated their lives to studying the Quran and Hadith. Another major reason for the emergence of these imams was the rise of false narrators, people who fabricated hadiths and attributed them to the Prophet. This made it crucial to verify the authenticity of hadiths attributed to the Prophet. How was this done? It was a very complex and difficult process, carried out by trusted scholars who spent day and night studying religious sciences. Among them were
الحسن البصري الليث بن سعد and الأوزاعي
and the four imams,
الإمام أبو حنيفة الإمام الشافعي الإمام مالك بن أنس الإمام أحمد بن حنبل.
The process of verifying hadiths involved examining the biographies of narrators. If a narrator was found to have bad character or was known to have lied even once as a joke, their hadith was rejected. A famous story tells of
الإمام البخاري
traveling a great distance to hear a hadith from a narrator. When he saw the man lying to his horse to lure it, he refused to take any hadith from him, saying, "If he lies to his animal, how can I trust him not to lie about the Prophet?" They only accepted hadiths that were narrated by hundreds of people using the same words, meaning, and form. It is impossible for hundreds of people from different generations to fabricate such identical reports. Just as they agreed on the authenticity of many hadiths, they also disagreed on others, for reasons related to the reliability of the narrator, or due to contradictions with other hadiths or with the Quran. There were also differences in interpreting some Quranic verses. This is natural, as the Arabic language is extremely rich. A single word may have multiple meanings, and one meaning can be expressed in many ways. This is part of the beauty and greatness of the Quran. The more you read and reflect on it, the more you discover. Imagine if the Quran were like any other book, simple and easy to understand fully in just one or two readings. You might never return to it. But the subtle complexity in some of its verses ensures we keep exploring it forever. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said of the Quran, "The scholars are never satisfied with it, and its wonders never cease." But again, these differences never affected the core principles found in the Quran. To make it clearer, let's take an example from the Quran. "And divorced women shall wait by themselves for 3 qur'at." There is disagreement over the meaning of the word quru. Does it mean menstruation or purity? This example helps illustrate how such interpretive differences arise. Now let's talk about Muslims who become fanatical about one school of thought and consider followers of the others to be misguided. This often stems from ignorance of what the other madhhab actually teach. What if you travel to a country that follows a different madhab? Will you skip praying in congregation just to stick to your own school of thought? That's not acceptable. The others are also Muslims, following the Quran and Sunnah. You should pray with them, and valid without a doubt your prayer is. Even Imam
الشافعي
prayed far in Baghdad according to Imam
أبو حنيفة
Madhab because that mosque had been the place where Abu Hanifa taught before he passed away. Imam al-Shafi'i had what we now call the old and the new madhab. Why? Because he moved from one region to another and changed how he handled rulings based on the culture and lifestyle of the people in that region. Imam Malik once refused to allow the caliph to make his madhab the official and only one in the region. He rejected this, letting people follow what suited them best. This shows the flexibility of the imams, and flexibility is the key word here. It reflects the essence of Islam, ease and clarity. Allah said, "We have not sent down the Quran to cause you distress." Islam came to lift hardship, not to increase it. Remember the story during the caliphate of
عمر بن الخطاب.
a famine struck the region, and theft became common. Umar suspended the punishment for theft, even though it is a Quranic ruling. He said, "I will not punish people twice," knowing the severity of their situation. A modern-day example is abortion. While abortion is forbidden, what if the fetus endangers the mother's life? In this case, the mother's life takes priority, and abortion becomes permissible. I know some people still deny the value of the works of these scholars, but let me ask you this. When you're sick, don't you seek the best doctors and hospitals? When you want to check your home security, don't you call the best technicians? So why, when it comes to our religion and beliefs, do we dismiss the importance of experts and scholars? In the end, I'd like to share a few examples of differences between the schools of thought. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.